Our co-host today is Inzamam Rashid, who's joining us live in the studio. Inzamam, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to totally geek out with you about the World Government Summit.
Perfect, let's do it together. So you are a Gulf correspondent at Monocle, and you've covered plenty of governance and leadership conversations. Can you tell us a little bit about, the global climate going into this year's government summit?
Look, this World Government Summit sits on one of the most interesting times globally right now, not least because of tensions around the world, but also because there's so much happening, particularly in this region. You mentioned it earlier, in particular artificial intelligence. This World Government Summit is really going to focus so much around how this region in particular is just a world leader when it comes to artificial intelligence. But these kind of summits, I think, are so important. We've just had Davos, the World Economic Forum. The world's eyes were on Davos as well. And now the world's eyes are going to turn to Dubai for the World Government Summit. And these are so important because not only do they convene world leaders from all around the globe and from different walks of life, but actually it means that they can discuss how they can make this world a better place to live, essentially. Yes. And also just, come out with solutions to better the society that we're in, and discuss also very high level important diplomacy factors as well, which I think can't be missed. There is a lot of conversation about artificial intelligence, there's a lot of conversation around just creating a better world, but diplomacy is very much high on the agenda, and so I think that will be a real focus of this year's World Government Summit.
So Inzamam, you mentioned earlier, just before we had the cameras rolling, that there might be something of interest to myself, who is maybe not fully into the world of governments. So what's going on that would be of interest to someone that's maybe not politically adverse?
Well, look, the World Government Summit, I kind of see it as for absolutely everyone. Yes, because there's a lot of kind of diplomacy, and some people may be a bit bored by kind of what's going on or not interested by what's going on. But actually, the World Government Summit is great because it brings together people from the world of hospitality. So we'll see, for example, the bosses of Kerzner Hospitality, the guys who own Royal Atlantis and so many other amazing properties, particularly here in Dubai. We'll see the boss of Hugo Boss there as well. And maybe he will be able to talk about Emmanuel Macron wearing sunglasses over the last few weeks when he's been giving press conferences, or what suits politicians like to wear on the global stage. So look, there's a little bit for absolutely everyone. It's not all doom and gloom talking about politics. There is plenty there to talk when it comes to fashion, when it comes to hospitality, when it comes to retail as well. And I think that's why the World Government Summit, away from World Economic Forum, which is very business focused, it's very kind of economic focused, it's there in the title. This kind of brings people together from all over the world.
The whole world is going to be here, right, in Dubai.
Exactly.
And I like that you've touched base on so many different topics, but I just wanted to ask you as well, what are some of the themes or the panel discussions that are going to be at the World Government Summit this year that some people need to be focused on or just to give special attention to?
Well, what they've confirmed to us is that this is going to be the biggest World Government Summit ever. So they've said 150 plus government delegations arriving into Dubai, 35 plus heads of state as well, which I think kind of shows you the importance of the World Government Summit, where so many heads of state, delegates are actually deciding to turn up, take time out of their busy schedules and to be a part of the World Government Summit. There's 340 plus sessions going on as well, 25 forums which are taking place. For me, some of the highlights of what I think is going to be really interesting in World Government Summit is AI and governance.
Yes.
That's one of the kind of forums and the topics. So governments, as we know right now, are kind of openly grappling with how do you fast track our AI systems? How do we be the best in the world when it comes to integrating artificial intelligence into our world, whether it's us as kind of TV hosts or journalists as well, but also in loads of other different sectors. How do governments integrate artificial intelligence quickly, but also safely? And I think everyday people will want to learn, well, what's the safety implications of actually implementing artificial intelligence? And that will be high on the agenda at this World Government Summit. Water, climate and resilience. They're also three huge topics that will be discussed this year. So water security, climate stress, as we know, there's obviously a lot about sustainability and the climate as well. And obviously they have huge impacts on everyday political and economic issues as well. So that will be a huge discussion. And finally, as well, economic resilience.
Yeah.
We know there are many countries around the world struggling right now economically, and that will be a huge conversation. There will be a lot of talk about global south countries. How can countries like the UAE, some of the more wealthy countries, actually dig deep in their pockets and support some of the countries which desperately need it? We're seeing, you know, starvation and famine in some countries, and how will these countries who've actually got a bit more money actually support those who are in desperate need?
Amazing. Now, Inzamam, I love how the Government Summit brings people from all walks of life, policymakers, innovators, CEOs, government heads, etc. But I really want to bring the focus back onto the citizen and the resident of this beautiful country that we all call home. And there's an increasing, growing transparency need amongst governments, you know. And one thing I love about anything government related or anything business related in the UAE is that the citizen is always top of mind, and we see a lot of things coming out of the Government Summit that impact the citizen, right? So tell me your view on having the citizen engagement. Is anything different this year?
Well, look, what I think is super important about World Government Summit, and to be honest, a lot of these kind of forums that happen around the world, is that, you know, they often sometimes don't have people at the heart of it, but the World Government Summit in particular, I think they really do think about, well, what's going to be the knock-on effect of everyday people, and should it be accessible for everyday people? I think these are so important because you bring all these people together. A lot of people around the world won't be able to turn up at Madinat Jumeirah and actually, you know, listen to some of the talks. And a lot of the people who are there are usually journalists or diplomats and delegates. But actually, you know, the power of social media and what comes out of World Government Summit will be hugely important. I think what governments in this day and age are realizing that they can't govern directly at people anymore. They have to govern alongside people. 100%. They have to hear what people have to say. And these events and these forums are so important because they have the opportunity to directly hear from people on the ground, hear their concerns. And I guess it's just another sign of the openness that Dubai offers to its people as well, to, yes, convene all these people together, these delegates, these decision makers, these policy makers, but actually hear from the people on the ground, hear their concerns, and take that away and do something about it.
Yeah,